Okay.
Welcome to the G4 summit. China chose not to attend, so we only have three nations here. I am President Robert Sanders of the United States of America. We are joined here today by, thank you, Secretary of War Chase, but if you'd like to stop that.
Okay.
We are joined here by President of the CSA, Dave Schneier. Hello, Dave Schneier.
Hello, Robert Sanders.
Chancellor of the Spanish-German Empire, Joseph Kander. Oh, we are also joined by President of China, Kenneth Quinones. Glad you could join us. We're here to discuss the issues facing our world today in a live and open forum so we can be transparent with the world and so that the nations within the United Nations and some that aren't can discuss world matters in a live setting. So if there's anyone that wishes to speak up, there's no formal parliamentary procedure happening in this call. It is just a discussion between world leaders. So let's start with the first topic. I know one that's really heating up the community right now, the China issue. Let's start with Joseph Kander on this. What is your nation's opinion on the China issue, and what are you doing to address the issue as a whole?
I would like to address that war that the Chinese president seems to be making actions towards war, and I would like to condemn the actions and hope that war does not start. Not because I am afraid of losing, but because I know what war brings, and I know that war between two superpowers would not be good. I know a lot of people will die, and if this doesn't get resolved peacefully, then a lot of people are going to die and a lot of friendships will be ruined and blah 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 blah. It will not end good. That's my final verdict.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We have to avoid war at all costs. That's why I created the new UN for a more orderly and stable worldwide legislature, where every country can be represented and checks and balances are placed on both leadership and the council and court. Um, President Schneier, what is the CSA's place in this disagreement?
Well, me and China have started renegotiations. As far as what I am concerned, China wants the area. What China wants is to make it so in the UN, veto countries that have the power to veto cannot be overridden. Cannot be overridden. That is what he wants. He says that he will end the embargoes. At least for me, this is my understanding. The State Department has briefed me on is that if we remove that from the UN Charter, then China will end the embargoes that they have placed on the several nations. Um, they will end all military threats. I would like to say that all of our nation's economies have suffered greatly under China's embargo, especially China's. China's in a depression right now. The African Commonwealth, the Spanish-German Empire, the USA, and the CSA are all in recessions right now. So I think it would be best for everyone if the president of China will revoke his executive order and end these embargoes. I think they're really uncalled for, and you shouldn't punish other countries for that. I mean, the UN Charter says something, so boycott the UN, but I think it's inappropriate to boycott other nations for what the UN Charter says.
I completely agree with that, and the United States. That's the United States' official position as well. Um, you are ruining, with all due respect, President Quinones, you are ruining the Chinese economy and hurting so many of your citizens' lives and my citizens' lives and Mr. Schneier's lives and Joseph. The world as a whole, dangerous thing, um, and I hope that you are able to look past it. And if you disagree with the UN Charter, you have every right to leave and create your own organization. Um, but I hope that you will join the UN again, and we will be able to move past this and create a more peaceful world and society for all.
Robert, if I can interject here,
Yeah, of course.
responsibility is as Secretary of Foreign Affairs is I oversee both the State Department and the military. And while I do agree with diplomacy, the ever looming threat of war is something that strickens the people with fright of all of our nation. And as a response to that, the president and I have devised a military plan that is completely reforming the CSA's military to be a lot more agile, a lot better equipped. As a matter of fact, we are now creating around 100 to 150 new IRBMs in the situation for a war with China, as well as creating new Humvees, a stronger Navy with several aircraft carriers, 3 aircraft carriers with some planes, and we are also replacing the CSA's military standard rifle from the M4 to the 416 and M110 designated marksman rifle. So I just want to say, while I do support peace on the foreign side, I do recognize that if war were to ever occur, A is more prepared to handle it.
I would like to interject. We are not wanting war with China. We are not thinking about going to war with China. If there was to be a war, theoretically, it would not be a war that the CSA started.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't want war. The CSA's official position, as President Schneider stated, is definitely anti-war. However, we would like to say that we want to be prepared to protect our citizens.
Yes.
If the situation did occur.
Yes. Yes, the United States is still fully prepared to protect its citizens at all cost and protect the citizens of the Confederate States, our most important ally.
If I may speak.
Of course, yeah.
The Spanish-German Empire is, of course, against any possible war, but we have set up a naval blockade and are expanding not only funding for our military, but participation in our military. In fact, Parliament decided to make a draft, if you saw my post, a mandatory draft for 6 months of service if you're a man under the age of 30, because we are worried that a certain hostile nation will declare war. We, of course, do not want war, but we are ready to defend ourselves. We will not be invading anyone. We will be defending ourselves and our allies.
Yes. Again, very unfortunate if we were to have a war between all of our nations. The United States will stay neutral in the Spanish-German Empire and Chinese conflict until it escalates to a point where the United States can no longer stay neutral, and once the United Nations has taken action on it, as I am the United Nations President and Security Council Chair. Does President Quinones have anything to say?
He has left. Wait, did he leave? No, never mind. He's back. I'm sorry.
Does President Quinones have anything to say in regards to the Chinese crisis? I guess not. So we will move on to the economy. Of course, this
I give the economic report.
Yes, please. We will have the president of the CSA read us out the economic report. Of course, Chinese policy has now turned the world economy on its head. Of course, all of our nations are facing economic struggle right now. China facing the economic recession, the worst.
Now, I will make economic reports for all of our countries, but here is the Chinese economic report. Official economic report from admins. The Chinese government's credit, this is their credit. So most people's credit, if you have good credit, it's going to be around 720 or higher. I think the highest you can get is 800. Their credit is estimated between 25 and 75 right now, after they spent hundreds of billions of dollars on developing nukes, hundreds of billions. So they said several hundred. So it could be anywhere between $300 million that they spent, and all the way up to $800 billion that they've just spent all at once on nukes. Their GDP dropped by an estimated 50% after all factories have been converted to military manufacturing. They stopped trading with all their top, biggest trade partners, and they also have a lack of many crucial raw materials, and also they've been blocked from accessing the Panama Canal. So that was a major vital part of their trade. So because of that, their GDP has dropped by an estimated 50%. Also, China faces high inflation and a fast-growing debt. Some experts believe that China will actually have to declare bankruptcy in the near future. So they're in a depression right now, a very great depression. The other nations that have been placed in the embargo, so the African Commonwealth, CSA, USA, and Spanish-German Empire, are all facing recessions. And I will make reports on their economy soon.
Thank you, President Schneider. The United States is obviously taking measures to try and recuperate from this economic hurt right at this moment. As President of the United States, I asked the Chinese president right here, face to face, please stop building these weapons. I want peace throughout the world. That's why I created the UN. Please do not go to war over such a petty issue as to a problem with a amendment in a piece of legislation that creates the United Nations. That is not a reason to go to war. You are not being provoked in any reason whatsoever. No nation wants to go to war, and you are just continuing this ruining imperialistic tactics of the world, and we are closer to disaster than we've ever been before. What do you have to say for yourself, President Quinones? And he doesn't say anything. That's pretty typical.
Can I speak? Okay, let's speak.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
I'm not trying to attack anyone, as of course that's not good. But in my views, if someone is instigating and making World War III, a possible World War III, and causing an economic depression, they should at least, and they come and they attend a meeting between the top nations, they should at least say something. If you are a top nation and you cause an economic depression and you looks like you're about to cause World War III, you should at least be cooperative with the other nations and say something, defend yourself, give reasoning instead of sitting there.
Kenneth, all we want to know, what we want to know, Kenneth, is what we still haven't really figured out is what is your reasoning behind bringing up hostilities? You're pretty much engaging in trade warfare against us at this point. Trade warfare, not military warfare, big difference. You've been very hostile. You've developed hundreds of thousands of nukes. This is what made most of your, really escalated your debt in the first place, because that costed hundreds of billions of dollars to create hundreds of thousands of nukes. That means you spent trillions.
The dent in your infrastructure project.
Guys, that means you actually spent hundreds of trillions of dollars on nukes. Because if you wait, I'll be right back. Robert Sanders has.
Because it cost $8 billion, and he said he created 100. So if we go at lowest, 100 times $8 billion, that's already what, like 800 billion. And
President Quinones, this just doesn't seem thoughtful.
He said he possibly, and then he said he went into the thousands. So if we go with thousands, that could go up. A decision this big should be thought. Let's say that's even 1,000. That already brings up to like, I mean, I'm just saying, but like $8 trillion.
Yeah, a decision like this should be thought through and calculated.
It clearly wasn't, and was done in a fit of rage because someone was upset that things did not go their way over such a small problem, might I add.
And as the president of the UN, we are always open to your nation coming back in to the United Nations, and I believe that everyone in the United Nations is open to that as well. All you have to do is lift these sanctions, lift the trade war, and
I don't know, get rid of your nukes.
Yes. Also, kind of follow the process at hand in the legislature of the UN and try to keep it organized, I guess.
Did you send this video to anyone? Like, is there a link out there anywhere?
Oh yeah, there's links everywhere.
Listen, Kenneth, we're not asking for much. We're literally just asking for you to lead your nation in a peaceful way that doesn't actively try and hinder other nations. That's not asking that much. And if the way that Robert or Joseph put it is too hard, I'm going to try and put it in a way that makes it a lot simpler. Just to become a leader who doesn't try and make their nation and use their immense power to hinder the development and success of others. That's it.
Here. I think since Kenneth and President Kunyoins obviously shows no interest in engaging in diplomatic talks, I think that's all
I have
we
new
have to
information.
talk. Dave,
So I think, according to our Treasury Department, aka my mom, it is actually what it looks like. So so let's say each missile that China developed cost $8 billion,
Already
and
did
he
the
bought
math.
quote unquote hundreds of thousands. So we're
I
gonna round
already
that.
did the math, dude.
It's
So that means China's
130.
bankrupt.
So it could be around actually $130 trillion that was spent. Actually, previous number was a very huge underestimate because our Treasury Department did those numbers wrong. So
well, the
China
UN
is in a huge amount of debt right now. $130 billion of debt now.
Yeah, we
yeah,
already
as
claimed
UN
that.
president, I recognize that as the official economic report of China's spending.
There we go. And listen, Kenneth, unless you take a more peaceful objective, no nation here is going to help you. That's it.
Exactly. I mean, President Quinones, no nation really wants to help this, and I'm staying neutral. Dave's staying neutral. Everyone's either going to stay neutral or be on the side of the Spanish-German Empire. Just because it's such a petty disagreement, and one not worth going to war.
Well,
with.
I would actually say that's not true. According to Secretary of State of China, they have begun negotiations with Russia and Japan. So it's very possible that we could be seeing a Russo-Sino-Japan alliance being created here.
The United States has also been in talks with Russia and Japan.
Sure, so has the CSI. I've been in talks with Japan, not Russia yet.
And it's those. I can't reveal what's happened in those talks, but I can say that those talks have gone very well in the favor of the United States and the Spanish German Empire. So I'll ask the member from China one last time. Please join.
Are we using parley procedure?
No.
Okay.
Please join the United Nations again. Please join the Security Council again. And start using the democratic legislative process used by the major nations in this world. Let's keep peace. Let's basically just keep the peace and kind of address the events as they come and not try to create unnecessary problems between two countries.
No, I'm not hungry anymore, Mom. Thank you.
Oh. Mommy, I'm not hungry anymore.
With that,
I mean, I meant my Hef White House. I don't have the White House. What's my
It's just the Capitol building. That's what I
President Palace, Chief President Palace.
Okay, just be quiet.
Before we end this, I'm going to check the community as requested by President Quinones and read out what has been posted. President Quinones of China has just issued another executive order, and before we end this, does anyone have any closing arguments before our closing statements?
Yes, if you don't want to die, don't start World War III in the peaceful way.
Breaking news, the executive order has just been passed by the President of China saying to end the embargo on the United States, the Confederate States of America, and lifting the African Commonwealth, to end the military converting and transform its economy into a recovery pathway. The Republic of China shall continue to enforce the embargo on the Spanish German Empire.
What did I
Sincerely,
do?
Well, that's a step in the right direction, and I'm glad we were able to get somewhere with this summit. Thank you, President Quinones, for listening. Thank you, President Schneier, for attending, and Chancellor Kander for attending. I say let's get back to the Mock Nations chat.
Why do I not get thanked?
Oh yeah, and Secretary of War Chase Stevens for attending
Secretary
and
of Foreign Affairs.
providing us with some vital
Secretary of
information,
Foreign
too.
Affairs, which is defense plus war.
Secretary of Foreign Affairs Chase Stevens.
I would like to ask. Can I just ask one more question to Kenneth? And if he doesn't want to answer this, that's fine. Wasn't the Spanish Republic? Oh, never mind. Okay, so Spanish-German Empire seems like it cannot get out of this embargo. The only way, so they will lift the embargo on the United States, Confederate States of America, and African Commonwealth if you do some conditions. But
what are the conditions? Does he have any conditions?
Oh wait, no, never mind. My bad. There wasn't conditions. The embargo is being lifted on the United States, Confederate States of America, and the African Commonwealth. My bad. I misread it. But the Republic of China shall continue to enforce the embargo on the Spanish-German Empire.
Question though, why?
So I think what the CSA will be doing is that we will resume trade with China, but we will raise the tariffs on China. So I think the appropriate course of action that we will be taking, since Spanish-German Empire is a close ally.
Agreed. That is the pathway that the United States will be taking as well. We hope that one day that the tariffs will be lifted and we can resume regular trade, but until the embargo on the Spanish-German Empire is lifted, that cannot be the case. Thank you for attending, all of you. Let's get back to the Mock Nations chat. I'm glad we were able to get some results from this. Yeah, let's end this. Cool. Thank you.